Good afternoon, fellow councillors, staff, those in the audience. I'd like to call the special meeting of council for Tuesday, August 19th to order. It's to be held and transmitted electronically by council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan, British Columbia. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge with gratitude that we are assembled today on the unceded territory of the Subasset people with thanks. And with that, looking for any introduction of late items tonight, none there. So approval of the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Vomaka. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. I'd like to acknowledge that Councillor Frisbee is joining us virtually, as is our planner, Ms. Reynolds. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you can hear us. Thumbs up, we're good to go. So now is an opportunity for public input on tonight's meeting. If you have anything pertaining to tonight's to zoning amendments, please come to the podium, state your name and your public input. This is not the time for questions. That will be further in the agenda. But if you do have input, this would be the time for that. Seeing none, we have no business arising, no delegations, no correspondence. So we'll get right into the staff reports. And the first one is a zoning amendment bylaw number 1121-2025 for 135 Northshore Road. Ms. Reynolds, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Let me just get myself situated. So we have an application received from the property owner, Mr. Aubrey, at 135 North Shore Road. And the request is for a site-specific zoning amendment to allow for a short-term rental on his property at 135 North Shore Road. The home is a single-family dwelling, and there's a secondary suite. And as you know, with the change in the regulations by the province requires anybody who would like to operate a short-term rental, they must have a business license. Well, it must be consistent with the bylaws of the local government and have a business license as well. And so because this isn't currently a permitted use, on this property, the property owner is requesting that zoning, the site-specific zoning to allow for that use on his property. The OCP does support, there's a couple of policies related to short-term vacation rentals in single-family residents, subject to, of course, licensing, life and safety standards, insurance, adequate parking, limiting nuisance. Now, and the zoning bylaw does currently allow for short-term vacation rentals in some locations. And again, it's in a number of site-specific cases. And then the the zoning bylaw also allows for a bed and breakfast accommodation, which is different because the bed and breakfast accommodation requires that the resident host be present at the time that the bed and breakfast accommodation is being utilized. And I know this is also something, that council has directed staff to undertake a review of this subject. And so this is in some ways, so the property owner wanted to have the opportunity to make the application. Not knowing, how the public process or the more larger zoning amendment might take place, or when it might take place and how it would go. So notification, we did notify neighbors, and we did receive, I think it was 5 emails and letters from neighbors. And They expressed various concerns, and I do believe you were given copies of those correspondence so that you're familiar with them. Um, Generally, I mean, there was general concerns expressed about short-term rentals and some of the issues that they can have in neighborhoods related to noise and parking, nuisance, party homes. And then there were some also a number of specific references to the property in terms of the ability of the um, to have that there is actually adequate on-site parking on the subject property. There was also concern expressed around visibility because of on-street parking creating a bit of a barrier. Some concerns expressed about impacts to long-term rentals, which is one of the large reasons why the province enacted the the new legislation, and concerns with impacts that might take place on this property in particular related to noise and traffic. Um, Calls and concern about increased calls to emergency services and concern about party homes. And there were also a number of questions that were raised in terms of, was there going to be a limitation on the number of night stays that visitors might have? What's the oversight going to be as far as if the resident is not there, who would be taking care of the place? The property owner did indicate that he has he is somebody who does this property management work, and they would be the person responsible for managing the short-term rental at his property. So so that summarizes what the information we have received. Um, what though is not clear, I believe, is whether or not he wants to use the whole home, whether it's just the suite or the single or his home, his residence upstairs, or what is he's proposing to do there. And that is my presentation for now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll give the applicant an opportunity to speak now if he wishes, up to the podium on your points. If you could come to the podium and push the mic button, please. And just state your name for the video if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Just get you to pause for a minute. Apparently they can't hear you online. I'll go check that.
Need to go on.
I thought I had to push it the whole time. Jack. Okay, there we go.
There you go, Councillor Frisbee.
All over again. Okay, I built a new fence and gate 6 foot tall, and it really dramatically reduces any sound. If you really want to cram it, you could put 4 cars in my driveway, I guess, or 3 anyway. So there's no worry about parking, or the garage for that matter, if I decide to open that up. And my neighbor next door, Cindy, looks after B&Bs, has been for years all around town here, right? And so she knows how to maintain, and we have the contacts. Anything gets broken, boom, it's done, it's dealt with. She's pretty handy about fixing all this stuff anyway. She's worked for the town and all over here. So we've got the safety factor, we got the noise factor, we got the ample parking. Yes, I do get emergency vehicles that come to my house. because I have two special needs clients. And so it's actually gonna happen less if I'm away, right? It's just part of like we talked before, Tim, you said you understand, you deal with that in your family too, right? So it's the way it is, right? I can't control that. It's all protocol that the government requires, right? And I'm also, because I really don't get that much money from the government, as you know, too. So this will help that we can actually take a holiday at Christmas time and stuff like that, right? Do little things. We're not talking full on, here we go, let's max it out. No, I just want to be able to do this once in a while so I can actually afford to travel when I want to break, or I can take these guys to see new countries and explore things that they wouldn't normally get to do. So it's helping them. It's not on a, here we go, full bore. Let's make the money, right? But at Christmas time, they don't get to go to their families at Christmas. So this is perfect, right? And some other things that they want to see, Canada's Wonderland and whatever. No USA, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, I'll turn to council and see if they have any questions on the application. Councillor Frisbee, I'll look at you first. Do you have anything on this application?
Yeah, just two things. So there are currently Airbnbs listed in our community without business licenses. Has something changed that actually needs a license to be listed on Airbnb? And then secondly, I'm just worried that this will set a precedence before we actually decide on which way we want to go with the Airbnbs. So I think we're playing with fire a little bit there.
Appreciate that. Any answer from staff on that? I will include that we did accommodate the use of temporary use permits
Sure, I'll
prior
seeing
to.
issue. I'm still trying to figure it out. We've just recently signed on the town side, an agreement with the province in order to access the provincial portal so that we can understand what's going on in the community. So, I mean, it was my understanding that they weren't issuing, short-term licenses, for where business licenses are required. So but then because of the town of Lake Cowichan doesn't fall under the legislation because of the size of the community, then it could be that they are allowing the use. But I have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure.
That's what I got talking to them. Yeah.
And your second one was, Councillor Frisbee, sorry.
No, I guess that's the one. We look on Airbnb now and there's a number of listings. So I don't believe that they do require a business license. But my main concern to staff is that we set a precedence if we do approve this, because we haven't gone through our process yet on what we want to do with Airbnbs, nor got a report from staff. So I'd hate to approve this one and then have multiple others come along when we do set our belief in it and we have to say yes or no on those ones.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. We did accommodate the use of temporary use permits in a prior meeting. In the interim, while we look at this and bring forward the final staff report as our planner had suggested. So this was the avenue that was afforded if anyone wanted to come forward in the interim. We will expedite that process of the licensing, et cetera, I'm hoping in the very near future. So there is no confusion on applications coming forward. I will turn to Councillor Bomaka.
Thank you. Just for clarification, some of these letters say that there's 4 units, but in the original town planner, it says that it's a duplex.
Oh, it's not a duplex. No, I have a suite downstairs. They stay in, and then I stay in the upstairs part.
So it's only a duplex then, upper or lower.
Just a house with a suite, yeah.
It's a household, yeah.
Yeah, not a duplex, because that would be different zoning altogether.
Okay, so, but there's one
Single family
reference
dwelling.
here saying that
Yeah.
there's a 4 units.
Oh, no.
So that's not correct. Okay, thanks
not at
for
all.
clarification.
I'd be rolling in the money if that was the case.
Any other councillors? Councillor Sandu.
Thank you. Just a question. So are you looking for one person or people to rent the time you're gone? Or are you looking month to month with this?
I'm getting a feel for the market, really. it's not necessarily, I prefer one in there, right? But there'll be the odd time, like what if there's a big hockey tournament, Christmas time, they have all that or whatever? Then, yeah, like I said, no, you can't have it for, you can only have it for a month when you got a hockey tournament going on, you got no place to stay, stuff like that, eh?
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't want to have a whole bunch of little ones. No, not my preference.
Okay.
I'm trying to navigate through the site, but because I don't have a business license and everything else, it's hard to navigate through because I'm trying to say, okay, I'm doing this back and forth thing. What do I do about the time lengths? How much notice do I need? How much,
Yeah.
the different time frames and how to go about it and stuff, right? So a lot of it is held up until I get the go ahead with this, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, it's the catch-22.
Thank you.
Councillor Austin, anything? Okay, so there was a question that the planner had read to us about whether or not it was just the suite or the whole house, which would be accommodated for the short-term rental. Could you clarify that?
Well, there's these guys here, they live downstairs and I'm actually going to put, like there's a door, I can lock it and stuff, right? For privacy and not entering back and forth, but I'm actually, for safety reasons and for safety for the house, if there's a fire, but for safety for the boys too, if any of their stuff getting touched, I'm putting in a metal door in between the suites. It's a good fire practice anyway, right? And the more, I've got a couple fire extinguishers in the house, I got, all the safety things because I have to with the boys. There's strict rules on safety all around the house, fire and emergencies, everything else. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bomaka.
Sorry, I'm confused. It's really easy to do that. So there's 2 suites and you have tenants that live in one of them?
Yeah. And so when I want to take them, because they're my clients too, right?
So they would remain in the one half.
Oh, no, like, either I have my motorhome and we take off and go camping somewhere local, right? Or, we're taking off on a trip with them, I want to take them on a trip at Christmas time. And that's a time when they're going to be screaming for rentals. Right now, it's going to be in the peak times that you guys need it, when I need it at the same time too. It's a win-win situation for the whole town. And let's face it, I hate to say it, but except for a few basics, I tend to go to Dunkin' for my big grocery shopping because it's cheaper at Walmart. But what do the tourists do? Just give me your local, right? And I'm also setting up a thing where of all the different services in there and then negotiate and they get a little discount for every one of them. So it's advertising all out through the town too. And I was looking into a system that's hooked up to your TV like the hotel and it automatically gets the businesses in there too. Well, I'm looking at all the avenues, yeah. What's best for the town? It's got to be a win-win situation. It's not a good deal. Like any good business practice, right?
So follow up, if I may. So you reside in one of the locations.
I reside upstairs. They reside downstairs.
Okay. And so when you come back, where do the people that are in the downstairs go to? They come back to the unit when it's not being a vacation rental?
When it's not being rented out, they're downstairs and I'm upstairs, yeah.
Okay.
Unless I have somebody who's covering for me and whatever, but no, they'll never be downstairs when the is rented upstairs because it just wouldn't be right
Okay,
in
thank
all of
you
our
for-
eyes, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
So Councillor Frisbee, did you want to clarify that question on whether it's rezoning or temporary use?
Yeah, I know that you brought up that we use the temporary use permits to navigate through these, but this looks like a rezoning that would be a permanent thing in that zone. Am I clear on that one?
On the specific property, I'll let Ms. Reynolds answer that.
Yeah, it is a zoning amendment. We originally thought temporary use might be an option. But it is not because the zoning bylaw specifically states that a temporary use permit in the town cannot be used for residentially zoned properties. It can be used for commercial, industrial, and then I can't remember which one, but not residential. So that's why we have suggested to the property owner to pursue this route.
Hope that clarified. And there are fees for that process, are there not?
For a zoning amendment, yes, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and the applicant paid
Just to
made
be
the
clear.
application fee, yeah.
Um, Anything else? So through to the CAO, if I may, because this is already, excuse me, a suite that has been utilized. I'm sure that building inspection and fire protection has been appropriately investigated.
In speaking with the building inspector this afternoon, I understand that we do not have on record any building permits issued for the renovations. The last that we have on file is that it was an unoccupied basement. And so we don't have any permits on record for the two suites that are, or the suites that are downstairs.
Thank you for that.
Hmm.
Anything else from council on that? Would that be a caveat that we should probably look at prior to the final reading?
I think that's a fair ask, that there's verification that the downstairs portion of the building actually conforms with the building code requirements for safety and other measures, other reasons. So if council was to be supportive of that, that should certainly be a condition.
Thank you for that. Councillor Sandu.
So just for clarification on the process, so if we do the 3 readings tonight, we wait for the report to come back on the suite because there was no permits taken out for the renovation. Should we be doing the 3 readings tonight, or should we be holding off until we get the information we need?
The rezoning changes, if council was to support it, does not take effect until adoption has occurred. So what can happen from a point of technicality is you can do 3 readings today if you were to support this. However, delay the adoption of that specific bylaw change before it takes effect until the other conditions you require are satisfied.
And it's just a matter of protecting the corporation and the applicant, in my opinion, just to ensure that the safety of all involved is accommodated.
For sure, it will be an exercise of paperwork in making sure that we have verification that the unit in question are safe for occupancy, and go from there. But from a technical point of view on the rezoning itself, you can do no readings tonight. You can do 1 reading, 2 reading, 3 readings, and then do the adoption at a different time.
With direction on that other topic. With direction on the topic of building inspection, et cetera, to
That's
staff.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So looking at that and the recommendation from the planner, what is your preference, fellow councillors?
Gonna hit the buzzer first.
Councillor Austin.
I think we should, I'd like to make a motion that we do 2 readings tonight and direction to staff to check into the safety and the permits for the downstairs unit and bring it back to the next meeting.
So you're moving first and second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw 1121-2025 to amend zoning bylaw number 1055-2021, section 5.1.4C bracket 2, site-specific permitted principal and accessory use, traditional urban R3 to add C, short-term rental as an accessory use to 135 Northshore Road, legally described as Lot 4, Section 5, Cowichan Lake District Plan VIP 62342 PID 023-278-340. Is that correct?
Yes,
And do I have a seconder?
and with direction to staff to bring back the information to the next meeting.
Seconder on that? Seconded. Any discussion? On the first and second reading, before I call the question.
Not a union meeting, eh? I can't second that.
So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of first and second reading, raise your hands. Opposed? Please note Councillor Frisbee and Councillor Vomaka are opposed. And now subsequently, a direction to staff to investigate the building inspection portion and the fire department portion of the application. That's just direction to staff, so there's no recommendation or motion needed. And with that, we will move to the second. Councillor Sandu.
I am recusing myself from this discussion to avoid an appearance of a conflict of interest.
Do we need clarification as to why, or just that it is a conflict? So Councillor Sandu has removed herself for a perceived conflict on the next application. And with that, I will let Ms. Reynolds introduce the next application.
Okay, thank you. So this is a zoning amendment for the property at 134 Cowichan Lake Road. And it is, the application is proposed to allow for, again, a site-specific zoning amendment. So just for this property, to allow for a medical clinic or other professional office as an accessory or home-based business use as permitted by building permit 06-2024-19. So the property is zoned R3, so traditional urban, and it's quite a large property. It's over 16,000 square meters. And it is, so home-based business is currently permitted as an accessory use. And this use, accessory use, is defined as a use that is subordinate and to the principal use, and it must be in conjunction with the permitted principal use, which in this case is residential. So the property owner, you know, they working with previous administration, so they indicated that they applied for a building permit to do this use, to do an addition, to allow for this both a secondary suite and a medical office as a home-based business. And then when the application, that building permit was issued in June of 2024. And then I think it was in March or April, the applicants were seeking their occupancy permit. And when I reviewed it, I felt my professional interpretation of this use as an accessory use, as a home-based business use, that it exceeded that, the scope of that use. While it did meet the size requirement of 70 square meters, the scale of the use, given there are 3 treatment rooms, a waiting room, a patient bathroom, and a staff washroom, and so on, that it exceeded what is some of the elements or some of the regulations in zoning bylaw, specifically section 4.3.11, where again, you know, the activity is clearly subservient and incidental to the use for residential purposes, and no alteration be made to the external appearance of the property, which indicates the home occupation is being conducted on the premises. The building permit application, or the building permit required, due to the nature of the use, that public assembly, that the construction required certain standards for public assembly use, so for more than 10 people, which is again exceeding what is typically considered a home-based business use. And so therefore, I really felt that I couldn't sign this off as a home-based business because it exceeded that. And and then suggested to the property owners that they make an application to rezone the property, which in my opinion, it's also allowing the applicant, I mean, it's creating more certainty for them in the future, and for anybody purchasing the property in the future, it's very clear that it is if the zoning amendment were approved, that this use is in fact a permitted accessory use. Um, so, um, so we have met with the CAO and myself and the building inspector. We have met with the property owner and gone, discussed the various options and recognized that, they've invested a considerable amount of money in this. And they're hoping to resolve it, as soon as possible. And we thought that this was possibly an option for them, again, to regularize it so that they could continue to, so that they could operate as a medical clinic. We also note that, and we put it to council as far as the application fee, given that the circumstances of this application are such that, what in conversation with the property owner, that previous administration were supportive of this approach. And I'm not sure how that all transpired. Unfortunately, there aren't much in the way of notes on file to help with that. So current staff were asking that council not consider requiring an application fee in this instance, which I know is rather unusual, but this is an unusual situation. And again, as with the previous application, notices were sent to neighbors. And we received one letter from a neighbor, and they indicated that they have questions. And I think they're intending to raise them today at the meeting. And so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I go to counselors, I'll give the applicant an opportunity to step to the podium if you wish. No, you're fine? Okay. Council, do you have questions? Councillor Bomaka.
Yes, through you to the CAO or to our town planner. The language in this, we keep going back and forth between medical clinic and a medical office for a home-based business. Can you make clarification as to whether it's a home-based office with the one person who is the resident of the property, or are we talking medical clinic with more people working and having patients on that facility?
I'll speak to that. And the applicant may want to provide further information, but it's our understanding. And when we did meet with the property owner, she is a nurse practitioner and does intend to operate a medical clinic there. She at the meeting when we met, we had they brought another doctor, a visiting doctor, who would be coming and working in this facility on I mean, not a daily basis, but I think it was a couple of times a month or something like that. I understand that there may also be sort of administrative support. The visiting clinician, we were told, would stay in make use of the secondary suite that's on the property. So the intent is by calling it a medical clinic, we're trying to call it what it is, be clear, but that it's still an accessory use, that it's allowing for sort of a bit of a hybrid situation, which isn't permitted in under the home-based business regulations currently. So it's allowing sort of allowances in this instance for the medical clinic in its how it's been constructed with the three treatment rooms and so on. So that's why the building permit itself is specifically referenced, because it sort of limits it to that space, to that size of yeah, the numbers of treatment rooms and the specific size and the layout and so on.
I'm sorry, a follow-up question, which would be to our CAO or to our town planner. So then being this is no longer considered residential with the use, would this property not come back then as a subdivision or be considered commercial use?
Well, they're still maintaining the residential use because if the property has on it, this was an addition to the existing single-family residence that's there, that is their primary home. And so it is still very much a residential use. And then, of course, there's a secondary suite there. So this would not be, the intent is that still the medical clinic is an accessory use to the residential use. But we did discuss a commercial zone. The issue with that, however, is that would require an amendment to the OCP, as well as a rezone to the property. And given, again, the nature of how this is unfolded, we thought that this was a possible option that would allow them to open the clinic sooner than later, because I know that that's certainly an issue, something that they would like to be able to offer the services to the town, to members of town.
Councillor Frisbee, anything from you on this one? No? Councillor Austin, anything from you? That wasn't question period at the point. It was public input. This is usually not the process we follow. Question period would follow our meeting, but given that this person has questions, I'm going to allow that as the chair and the mayor. Push the button, please.
I was in the town office
Thank
yesterday
you.
and left my letter. I am the one that wrote the letter.
Yes.
So
So
I am speaking.
During this
to-
process, what we usually do is we have the applicant, our staff present to council, and the questions for anything within the agenda is at the end of the agenda. But given that this is a rezoning and you are a neighbor, I'm going to allow.
And
you
I
to-
did get the letter from the town, so
I'm
I
going to
am.
allow you to ask your questions.
Okay. I'd like to ask the town planner, as you stated a number of times, in your opinion. So when the previous people that were working on it, you just didn't agree with what they did? The CEO or the previous town planner? Because I'm having trouble understanding the difference between a home-based business and a medical clinic. They're separate. They're maybe in the same building. But I don't understand your amendment to regularize a medical office as a home-based. Was it not set up to be a medical clinic to start with?
If I may,
Our CAO will hold that one.
and then Bridget can.
And then Bridget, if you have anything to add.
Provide addition. So the difference is the scale of the operation.
Could you speak up too?
The difference is the scale of the operation. When in a normal situation, when you think of a home-based business, you think of something within the home that is of a smaller size and that is directly tied to the operation of the entire residential component.
Yes, so is this not a separate addition?
So it is tied to the building. It's connected. It's not a separate.
It's got its own entrance,
It does have its own entrance, but again,
but it's not a
if I
home-based
can
business.
finish responding, that will be great. The size of the operation is much larger than you would typically find in a customary residential zone, home-based office structure. That is why we are proposing to change the zoning to regularize what has been approved through the building permit stages with the town, that the applicant constructed as per the plans, And the bylaw needs to reflect that. So that's why we're proposing this change at the moment.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand.
So
It's a
due-
medical clinic. What has it got to do with how many rooms are in there? How many people, patients at a time she can have? Is there a reason for some of these questions that you have?
If you have anything to add, Bridget, I appreciate you jumping in.
Sure. So yeah, again, I mean, typically a home-based business is something that you might have. I mean, there are plenty of medical practitioners that have home-based businesses. And typically they, it consists of a treatment room and perhaps some office space where they keep their records. This is, again, as mentioned by the CAO, this is at a larger scale than what is typically considered a home-based business
Typical for where?
for many different jurisdictions, local governments. I mean, reading the letter of the bylaw in terms of the what a home-based business is intended, a home-based business is intended to be ancillary or secondary or accessory to the residential use. The scale that is proposed in this instance is greater than that.
And
And
it
so
was not noticed previously with the previous planner?
well, and that would appear to be the case. And again, it's a challenge because we're in a situation where there aren't records on file to confirm all the conversations that were held and so on. And so we're trying to provide an opportunity for the property owner to continue with what they are wanting to do, but not but by allowing it, by being more clear in terms of the allowance of it, because it is greater in scale than what would normally be permitted by a home-based business. So this site-specific zoning amendment allows for a bit more flexibility than if they were just coming in for a business license, for example, to open as a registered massage therapist or as a nurse practitioner with one office, with one treatment room and one reception area, but not at the scale that is proposed in this instance.
Medical clinic doesn't have to be just one office, does it?
John?
So the
You're saying that this is too big for the scale?
Of what is a home-based business, yes.
Well, maybe that was the problem in the first place. Should it have been a medical clinic / commercial? So I don't know where your zoning or your amendments are, but I live next door. I'm a patient and I'm certainly happy to have a nurse practitioner when there's no other medical people in town. And I think you're making it difficult, and I don't think you're being fair. I think you're voicing your own opinion, and you're entitled to it, just as I am. And I thank the council for their information, and I don't want to talk anymore.
Thank you very much. But given the zoning, the footprint of the facility meets the zoning. The only problem is the usage. And given the administrative oversight of the previous application, I feel it's only prudent that we do what we can to accommodate the occupancy of this facility. Given, as you said, we are subjected to very little medical opportunities in the West Cowichan now, and I will have our CAO also add.
I just want to say that it's unfortunate with the way the matter was being characterized. And in defense of our planner, every person who has a job with the town have the discretion to look at the matters through their professional opinion, through their training and credentials. And we do not have the benefit of being a part of the previous discussions that have taken place with the property owner. This is very much an unfortunate situation. However, we are doing our level best to move as fast as possible. And this was the solution we came up with to have occupancy granted without compromising our professional integrity in when we dispense our duties. So I just want that to be on the record that we are doing our best. Our planner's opinion is valued, and she has got us to the point where we found a solution to move forward.
I think we have worked towards a compromise situation that will accommodate all sides, I hope. So given that, would it be similar first and second reading? We could do all three of this one. So if someone is willing to move that. Well, I'm looking for someone to move it. If not, I'm going to move it. Which is not probably. Councillor Frisbee, you're moving that? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? I will second that motion. Any discussion on this one? So I will read the recommendation. Grant first, second, and third reading of zoning amendment bylaw 1121-2025 as amended to amend zoning bylaw 1055-2021, section 5.1.4C, bracket 2, site-specific permitted principal and accessory uses, traditional urban R3, to add a bracket D, medical clinic or other professional office as an accessory use, and home-based business use as permitted by BP 06-2024-19, 134 Cowichan Lake Road, Lot 1, Section 6, Cowichan Lake District, Plan VIP 5853, PID 005 -902-118, and the second part of that there be no requirement for the application fee to be paid. And with that, I'll call the question. If there's no more discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That motion fails.
Just so everyone's aware, with the motion fail, the occupancy staff will not be able to move forward with scheduling the August 21st meeting, and adoption would not be able to take place, and occupancy, the granting of occupancy will not be able to take place at this point in time. We're going to have to do some more research and to look into what the implications may mean on this.
Thank you for clarifying that. So given that, is there any need to move to the bylaw?
No, sir.
I don't think so at this time, but should we accommodate the 134 or wait? So under bylaws,
35, North.
or sorry, 135, yes.
You can, but at this stage, I would actually prefer that we take that back and break it out into two separate amendments.
That would be probably more appropriate, yes. So given that, no new business, no mayor's report, question period. If anyone in the audience has questions on tonight's agenda, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and your question. We'll try to answer as best we can.
Some of this proceedings, I did not hear. My hearing's not so good. So regarding my case, it was voted yes, right? Just as long as it passes like a couple little, what do you even call it?
So what we did, we had first and second reading.
Yep.
So we've directed staff to look at the building inspection portion and the fire department portion.
Mhm.
And then it will come back for third reading and adoption at that time.
Oh, also why the recuse? do we not have a reason to know? It's kind of like if you have an accuser, you have the right to know who the accuser is. So why the excusing yourself from the vote? I'm not sure about that.
That was on another topic. On the second application, she recused herself for a perceived conflict.
Yeah, I don't know what the conflict would be.
I will let her explain.
Yeah.
A family member is a realtor in Lake Cowichan,
Mhm.
and there's some listings that he has.
Do some what?
Pardon me?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So a family member is a realtor in Lake Cowichan,
Yeah.
and he has some listings.
Okay.
Please, John, if you would clarify.
The reason for the conflict of interest is the member of council has said a family member of hers has business relations with the applicant.
Business relations with me? Oh, the other, yeah, okay. Okay.
Not your application. The second
Right
one.
there, I didn't hear it all.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay?
So how does this go about? How does this go about with this, come checking out the house, make sure it's safe and compliant and that kind of thing?
Staff will accommodate. I will let our CAO answer as to the process.
We will have the internal discussion with our building inspection team to look at the file again. We will have a meeting with yourself. We will probably do an on-site inspection to make sure that the building is actually constructed and it's safe to occupy.
I think if you know Stuart Close in town here, probably you guys use him all the time because he's top notch. Right? When it comes to anything to do with carpentry, building, concrete, you name it, right? And, any work that's been done on my house, which is basically outside, except for I put some new flooring in. And a new kitchen, but I don't need a permit for that. Right? New cupboards and stuff. So,
We're just
Yeah.
ensuring the process does not put the town in a difficult situation.
yeah.
There was no building permit as was stated on that suite. So we just want to ensure
it's-
that occupancy is.
It's like when I bought the place, that was one of my things that I said. And when I contacted the town, I said, okay, does it have a suite downstairs? Can I use it? Normally the door is open. It's not treated as a suite usually. But I have that ability to do that. And obviously with Airbnb, with renting out the upstairs and, taking the boys on a vacation somewhere, then I just lock up everything downstairs. Right? So I have to lock up their personal confidential files and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, it's,
No, we're just trying to accommodate the process as we are mandated to do.
Oh, yeah.
We want to protect yourself, the town, and
You
of
like it,
course,
yeah.
the people who are residing there. So just to
Yeah.
ensure that everything is safe, that's all.
oh, trust me, I had COBC, health and safety, everybody all come to my house and check it out. And they even went back and said, wow, that's a little bit more than what we're used to. Because I used to go and do that in healthcare. When I first started in healthcare and nursing, I go in people's homes and I evaluate the home. This is safety. This is not good. This is good. All that kind of stuff. So I'm trained in that. So
No, I appreciate that, but without it on file here, we have no.
you
it's
gotta make
a-
sure, because
right?
you got me as a fourplex.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd have lots of money if I had a fourplex, but yeah.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. If you could just state your name, please.
So the council votes, if not all five agree, you don't pass anything?
There was one recused, so there was 4 of us remaining. When a tie vote,
Four of you put your hands up.
when there is a tie vote, it is defeated.
Did I not see 4 hands go up that passed, or did I?
2 for and 2 against on the second.
I'm
app.
sorry, I didn't notice that.
Yes.
Could we have a revote so I can see? Is that against your
You can
rule?
watch the video. There were 2 in favor and 2 opposed.
Sorry, I didn't see that.
One was online and the other was myself, who were in favor. 1 recused. So we remained with 4 voting members, and whenever it's a tie, it is defeated by legislation.
How does a real estate how do you have a problem with the real estate? You
I don't think
recused
that's
yourself.
appropriate.
I've answered,
You
I've.
said it's a
I've
real estate
stated-
problem.
Yes, I've stated the reasons, and that's the only reason I need to give. I don't need to be more specific.
Okay. It's a perceived conflict that she did declare, removed herself from the discussion, which left us with the four people to vote. Okay. If there is nothing else, there is no in camera. Mr. Thomas.
Mayor?
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Thank you, Councillor Frisbee. So I will now adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.